All right, so let's start computing today. The first thing we're going to look at is, what's a computer? What's a computer? All right, so what's a computer? Well, that's a computer, right? So we're familiar with those being computers. We saw some pictures in the previous lecture, which was these great, huge computers that filled up rooms. Those are still computers too, but these are computers. The idea of this lesson is there's lots of things that are computers, and maybe some of them we haven't thought of as being computers that are also computers. So there's those. These things are computers. Really? This is a computer. That's a computer. That phone in my hand is a computer. Smartwatch is a computer. Tablet's a computer. Got a very powerful processor. Actually, the smartphone, the smartwatch, and the tablet have processors in them that were much more powerful than some of those computers we looked at in the previous lesson, because they just didn't have the computing power that we have nowadays. So now we got computers everywhere. You might have a computer in your, certainly you got a computer in your car, right? So everybody's car's got sort of electronic fuel injection for a long time. We have to have electronic fuel injection. Why? Why do we have to? Because it saves petrol, right? And a lot of countries don't like wasting petrol. It's also bad for the environment, you know, to be burning too much fuel. Some of that petrol comes out the back of your car, right? And so with a computer on your car, the computer can sense how much oxygen is in the exhaust, can sense the temperature, they've got sensors all over the car, and based on that, it can get the exact right amount of gasoline to mix with the air in each of the cylinders to get the most efficient combustion. Now, when I say the most efficient, that is the thing that they're looking for. And so the most efficient combustion is going to be actually at a high temperature. It's going to be lean. And that's kind of bad for making engines last a long time, because the hotter it is, the more trouble it is for the engine. So to solve that problem, we have to have all kinds of special coolant sort of technology with that. And so I guess we have big radiators and fans and things like that. But if you had an old car that had a carburetor, you could set that to be, you know, to not be so lean, and then it would run a little cooler. Or the other thing you could have is you could have a port on your, and so anybody who races cars would know this. You can have a port that connects to the computer in your car, and you can reprogram the computer. And so if you do that, you can adjust the characteristics of the way the engine is burning. You can make it burn leaner or make it burn hotter or cooler. And so you'll see that the race cars at the circuit, you'll see the guy pulls into the pits, and, you know, somebody will pull out a laptop and they start doing stuff. What they're doing is reprogramming the computer on the car, so it'll run differently. And they do that with motorcycles as well. So we got computers in our motorcycles, we've got computers in our cars, we've got computers all over our house. And so you could have computers that sense when the door is open, when the door is closed. So there's a motion detector, and when that happens, then a video starts. You know, we have alarm systems. We could have computers that are connected to our air conditioning systems, and then maybe connected to our Wi-Fi. And so that you could be sitting in your office, you could say, well, I'm going home in half an hour. You know, the house has been hot because I've been trying to save money. I don't want to run the air conditioner during the day because air conditioners use a lot of electricity. So what I'll do is half hour before I come home, I'll start the air conditioner by my mobile phone. Here's all my app. I'll start the air conditioner. Get home, it's nice and cool, but I haven't wasted a lot of electricity all day cooling down my house. And other things like that, I suppose you could say. You could have sensors, or you could have control through the internet, through the cloud. Some people in their house, you know, they'll have a camera over their baby. You know, the baby's sleeping in another room. Some people have babies sleep in the same room with them. Some people have baby sleep in another room. So if baby sleep in another room, they might have a camera on there. The baby cries, you know, they get a message on their phone. Baby's crying. Maybe they hear the baby crying. So I don't know. I know different people do different things with their babies, and computers can help with that. Oh, the other thing they'll do is, you know, the mother has to work and the father has to work, and they drop their baby off at the child care center. The child care center's got a video, and so, you know, mommy's missing the baby, and so she'll go onto the internet. Oh, there's my baby. You know, they can see their baby at the child care center during the day, and yeah. So there's some other things. We got them on our bodies, right? So I've got a watch which is telling me a few things that's happening with me. So, I mean, if I look at this, if I take the watch off, can you see a light there? Little green lights. So the little green lights, what they're doing is they shine on the skin, and depending on how that's reflected back, or is it reflected back, whatever, depending on how that light interacts with the surface of my skin, it's able to get some data about me. And the particular data it gets is what is my heart rate? What is my heartbeat? So it's measuring that all the time that the watch is on. And so at the end, so I have an app on my phone, which is connected to this. So this has got Bluetooth. My phone's got Bluetooth. And so it's always interacting with my phone. And then, so when I wake up in the morning, I can look on there and I can see how long did I sleep. So it calculates how long I slept by my heartbeat, right? So, if you have a long period of time where the heartbeat is, 60 beats per minute, doesn't change, well, it's probably asleep, right? I guess that's what it does. I don't know exactly how, but kind of like that. And it can tell when you're doing rapid eye movements, sleeping. So during your sleep, your eyes are moving around a lot, and maybe you have a dream or something like that. That's really good for resting. And so you hope that you achieve that during your sleep at some time, but it'll measure that. And yeah, so it tells me how long I slept. It tells me how many steps I took during the day. It tells me how many stairs I climbed. And so that's all kind of good, because that would maybe make me make some decisions that would help me to be more healthy. Maybe I'll look at it and say, well, I know that if I walked a bit further today, then I'll probably sleep longer tonight. So I didn't sleep enough last night, so I'll walk further today. Actually, I won't walk longer. I'll just go home and go to and lie down on the couch and watch a video. But at least I know, that I could, right? Yeah. There's that first video. So there's lots of other things that we could measure. Where this really is useful is you could have patients. The patient has some issues, maybe they have an erratic heart, they've got a pacemaker, some condition like that, which is actually could kill them, right? Now, what could you do? You could keep them in the hospital. Who wants to stay in a hospital? So what we can do is maybe we can rig this person up with a bunch of sensors on them, and then the sensor communicates with something on their mobile phone, and then their mobile phone connects through the mobile network and can send an alert to their doctor. So if something happens with their heartbeat or with anything else during the day, then their doctor can get a message, and then the doctor can sort of call them up or talk to a nurse or whatever, can intervene to sort of make sure that they don't have a something that's going to threaten their life. You know what I mean? So you don't have to have the doctor living with the patient. They don't have to even be in the same building. The patient can be at home where they're more comfortable. And they've got this thing, they call it a personal area network. And so devices that are connected to their body then connect to their phone, and the phone has a connection to their doctor, and the doctor can treat them. And there's lots of other things that we do. Yeah. Smart shoes. No, and they got the smart socks, monitors contact between the feet and the soles in the ground. Okay, so that could measure how hard, running sounds like a really good idea, right? But it can be harmful. You probably don't believe that, do you? Right? So what would it be harmful to? It can be harmful to your joints if you run wrongly, right? And so you want to run in a way which is as least damaging as possible. So maybe these smart socks could indicate that. What's the pressure between your feet and your shoes? Is that pressure too much? If there is, then either you have to run in a different way, or you have to get different shoes. You know what I mean? You can have better shoes that are better for running. So you know what I mean? What I mean is if you're running all the time and you got bad shoes and you're running on hard concrete, you're going to ruin your knees and your hips. And so that's probably not a great idea, and maybe even your back. So that's why a lot of people, instead of running, they'll do swimming or they'll do cycling, because those are low impact. They're not going to cause any damage that way. On the other hand, running a little bit, that little bit of pressure is actually going to build up the strength of your bones if you get enough calcium, right? Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm a doctor, so don't take advice from me on that. Take it from your doctor. So these things are computers, your PlayStation gamers, right? Your TV, smart TV. You guys, that's why I noticed I'm sitting at my TV at home, and all of a sudden it starts playing YouTube, right? I look around and my daughter's sort of controlling it from her mobile phone. So there is a computer in the TV, and it can communicate with other devices through Wi-Fi, etc. Netflix, OSN, Amazon, right? There's all kinds of sort of, and YouTube. Communication devices are computers. So that's what these represent, communication devices that you'd find in those rooms at the end of the hallway and at the entrance of the college. Those are communication computers. They allow for lots of communication between lots of different devices. Telephone companies have these types of computers. Telephone companies are mostly computers. So there's a lot of computer people in a telephone company, right? If you know somebody who works in a Rito, there's a good chance that they studied computing at some time, right? Unless they're a marketer. Yeah, then there's these things have computers in it, right? You can give it a program to print different ways, do different things. I'm not sure what this other device is. What's that? Network attached storage device, which is attached to your network and has storage that can be accessed through the network. These are computers that are modern computers. Now, doesn't that look like kind of the computers that I showed you at the start, those big computers that took up whole rooms? And that was like 1947. So now we've got them taking up whole rooms, but it's 2021. Why would you need a computer that big in 2021? Well, if you were Amazon or if you were Google, AWS, you could be running a cloud service. And that is that you would be hosting people's business software on your computer site, on the server. We call that in the cloud servers. So in Iceland and in Denmark and in Ireland, there's a lot of these computer farms, right? And so basically they just have these huge computer systems. And so that you as a company, you can build a whole computer system to support your company without having a single computer. All you need, well, you're going to have some computers, but all you need is some way of connecting to the internet to use their computers. And then all of your software and stuff can be on their computers. That's a good idea if your business is changing a lot. If your business changes from month to month a lot, you're going to have one system this month, and then maybe you're going to close it down next month. So you can just rent the time on the server for that month. And then at the end of the month, you just cancel. So, I mean, imagine if you just tried to do that yourself with your own equipment, right? You build a room, fill it full of computers, you run the thing for a month, and then you close it all down. What are you going to do with all those computers, right? So better if that's the type of thing that you're doing, changing a lot, then you want to be able to scale up and scale down. We call that scalability. And that's one of the benefits that you get from cloud computing. If you do a networking degree, you'll study that kind of stuff a lot. So why do we like computers? Because they're fast. They can store lots of stuff. And the accuracy, what we mean by the accuracy is, yeah, once you've figured out how to do the equation, it will reproduce it the same way every time, millions of times, right? So you can, once you program the computer to do the right thing, it'll do it over and over again, millions of times, always getting it right. It'll never get it wrong. And so that's really, really great if you wanted to have, if you were a bank, right? And you wanted to know the balances of all your customer accounts at the end of the day. You don't, humans do make mistakes sometimes. Do computers make mistakes? Yeah, I mean, if the code is broken, right? But once you've got the code right, you can repeat it. And the speed is a great thing. The speed is a great thing. 1 million records in a very short time. So, for example, there's a computer somewhere, and I don't even know where it is. You know, it could be in Ireland for all I know, or it could be here in Qatar. But there's somebody in an office here in Qatar who could press a button which would tell them exactly how many people in Qatar have had their third injection, and then they could press it for the COVID. Sure, that could be pulled up out of a database and very, very quick. And another, I'm sure they could do another report which would show all the addresses of all the people that haven't had the COVID injection. You know what I mean? So that's the type of thing that, you know, if humans had to do it, it would just take forever, right? But once, if you've got a computer system, you can do those things really, really quickly. Okay, so example on this is just in a more mundane thing. The policeman pulls you over because you've been doing something on the road. So what do? They look at your number plate on your car. They got a computer in their car, right? And it's connected to their home base computers through 5G or whatever. They can input well, they can just take a picture of it, but they can input into their system your license plate number, or police here would take your QID number, right? So they'd have a look at that, type that in their computer, and they know everything about you, right? If you owed somebody some money, they'd know. If you had 3 cars that weren't registered, or you had a bunch of traffic tickets, they know just now, boom, boom, they know. And so that type of thing, really quick and really good, accurate information. And nowadays, as I just mentioned there, we got 5G networks. You can put a lot of data over a 5G network very quickly. And so you can do things like that. Really good for policing, really good for other things too. So you're wandering around in the desert in Qatar and your car breaks down. Does that ever happen? I don't know. Yeah, it happens a lot. What are you gonna do, right? You don't know anybody out there because you're in the desert. So what do? You got your mobile phone. You go to Google Maps, pin, you drop a pin and send it to your friend in WhatsApp. 20 minutes later, they're there, right? Exactly where you are. And they're helping you out. So, a computer network, it's a computer system and networks together, they help us a lot. Lots of things we can do with them, just so many things. My daughter came home the other day and she's like, I want to cook brownies. I want to cook. I don't know if you know what brownies are. It's kind of like a chocolatey sort of cakey thing. And I want to cook brownies. I was, yeah, okay. Google brownie recipe. Boom, there's all the things. I go to the shop and I buy the things on the list. And she looks at the list and she made the most beautiful brownies I ever eat in my life. Yeah, they're really, really good. Just following the instructions, right? Which she found on Google. And as I said, I have a problem with my motorbike. What do? I'll go to YouTube and I'll search in their search engine there on YouTube, and somebody's got a video on how to fix my problem. So yeah, all of these things really, really good. Now this one is sort of relating to Moore's law as well. There's 2 sort of graphs here. The important thing on looking at these graphs is that the y-axis, this axis that's going up, the vertical axis, that's a logarithmic scale. So what a logarithmic scale means, that is, as you go up each point, it's not going up by 1, it's going up by 10 times the number below it, right? So if this is 1,000, then this is 10,000, then this is 100,000. See how it's going up by 10 times every time? Then 1 million, then 10 million, then 100 million, then a billion, right? Then 10 billion. All right. So every time we go up a unit, we're actually we're multiplying 10 times. So if this was on a non-log graph, this is a log graph. If this was on a non-log graph, this wouldn't be a straight line. So a straight line on a logarithmic graph, what that means is that you've got a function which is increasing exponentially. It's an exponential function. It's increasing so fast. So what this graph is the number of transistors per integrated chip. So our integrated chips started back here in the 1970s, and we're having a few thousand transistors on it. Now we're having 200 billion or 20 billion. Is that 20 billion transistors on a chip, and that was in 2016. So that was like 6 years ago. So you probably multiply that by 5 or 10 now. So I mean, that's really been increasing quickly. I think you'd agree with that. And this one here, the same kind of thing. This is the again, it's a logarithmic axis. So you see that 1, 10, 100, 1,000. And so this, if this was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this was 10, then this line wouldn't be straight. It would be going up like this, right? So what do we see there? This is the speed of the processor. And so we see over the years, and we're here at 2020, that's been going up pretty rapidly. As I said, that line would be sort of pointing towards the vertical. So we're toward the end of the lesson. I'm sure you're happy for that. Yeah, we're supposed to finish at 6:30. We're going to be finished before 6:30. So you guys see the Terminator movie? It's what was it called? Spygate or something like that? Stargate? I can't remember what it was. But basically, at some point of time, I don't know, around the year 2030 or something like that, the computer systems, this really smart computer scientist guy, he came up with this system, and the computer systems would reach the point which they called the singularity or something like that. And basically, when the singularity was when the computers became self-aware. It's like, boom, the computer was like a person, right? It's like, you know what? Hey, I can think like a person. I can sort of process things kind of like a person can. So that would be the singularity or whatever. Well, what would you do if you were a computer and you sort of could think like a person? Then you looked around the world and say, hey, look what those humans are doing, right? Look, they messed up the ocean. They're always fighting each other. They're a pain in the butt. They're a real problem for us really peaceful, useful computer guys. So, what we're going to do is we're going to be the Terminator. You guys see the movie? Yeah. So the Terminator, what is it? The computers decide to terminate the people, right? Yeah. I don't know if that's going to happen. Hope not. Anyway, so that would be if a computer could sort of be like a person. Well, people are really, really complicated. So I don't think we're kind of there yet, but we could take a little part of what a human does, like some humans play chess, and we could sort of focus on what are all the things that a human does when they're playing chess, and maybe we get a computer to do like that. And yeah, again, we got this computer called Deep Blue that beat the world's champion at playing chess. So a computer could do that. Computer could win a game show. These game shows, which is basically what do you call it? Common knowledge stuff, right? Not so common knowledge, but knowledge about sort of various trivial facts. So you could fill a computer memory with lots of trivial facts, and it could retrieve them faster than a human could. So yeah, it could win that game. And I don't know about this AlphaGo. You guys ever heard of that? Apparently it's some Japanese game or something. Anyways, computer could beat the champions of that. What other things could a computer do? Has a computer reached artificial intelligence? Some of you, if you care about that, we do have a program here where people do big data and sort of artificial intelligence kind of thing, right? So the idea of artificial intelligence is to get computers to sort of simulate what people do in the way that we think. And so the way that we think is really a lot of neural connectivity. So every nerve in our brain is connected to lots of other nerves. And then we get sort of well-worn patterns, pattern recognition. Our brain is able to recognize patterns. And so where a computer could have a bit of an advantage there is the amount of data that a computer could hold is almost infinite, right? We got a bit of a limit, but the computer doesn't. And so we could have so the resource material for pattern recognition is huge. So we could get all of this data and then have the computer look for patterns in the data that people haven't seen. And so that's been being used and we call that big data. And so with big data, you can find trends that people wouldn't have noticed. And then you can use that for your business. Somebody out there? Oh, we run out of time. I thought, oh, the clock. Yeah, we're finished, right? Yeah, sorry. Is that what you meant? Oh, yeah. Oh, your friend. Okay. So, yeah, I'm done. I thought that I had like 40 minutes, but I look at that and I'm actually run out of time. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah, so computers, maybe one day we'll be able to do artificial intelligence. What I was going to say is there has been a major failure in the artificial intelligence, and that's been in the self-driving cars. I mean, so you might remember that back in the 2010s, everybody's saying, self-driving cars, there won't be any more drivers and stuff like that. And then Uber had a self-driving car that was in one city in the United States, and it's driving through the thing, comes up to a crosswalk, lady at the push bike goes by, Uber drives over her and kills her. Now Uber doesn't do self-driving cars anymore, right? So, they have to solve that problem. And what the problem is computers cannot see the same as humans do, not yet. And that's because the way we see is not just the image coming into our eye, it's all the connections in our brain behind the eye, right? So there's a lot going on in vision. And computers haven't really been able to figure that out yet. And until they do, they better not start driving semi-trucks and cars, right? Because they're going to kill some more people, more ladies taking their bicycle across the street. And nobody's going to be happy about that, right? All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. All right. Cheers, guys. I'm going to stay here for a few minutes, but you guys are free to go. Cheers. Sorry, it was long, yeah.